Thank you, Matthew, and I'd like to thank the British Library for inviting me along. To be honest, I have been along this Brainwave to business journey. It's been about 5 years now, and I did start at the British Library. I did do a lot of my research here when I first started, and I have found the British Library to be very supportive, and I do thank them. A little bit of a fraud, really. Brainwave to business. The Brainwave wasn't mine, it was my wife's. And my business is not revenue generating yet, but we will be hopefully in about 2 months' time. Yoomi, I'm the Managing Director of Yoomi. We have developed what we hope to be a very novel self-warming baby feeding bottle. And the idea behind the bottle is that you press a button, 60 seconds later it takes fridge temperature milk all the way up to breast milk temperature. The Brainwave came from my wife. My eldest son now is 7 years old, so he was approximately 6 months. I was stumbling down the stairs, 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to go to the fridge, pick up the express breast milk, put it in a pan of boiling water, as I always did, fell asleep, overheated it, under the tap, cooling it down, fell asleep, cooled it down too much. Up from above, my wife is saying, "Where is this? What are you doing?" And about 5 minutes later, back upstairs, and she was very frustrated with me, to say the least, and she was basically said, "You're an engineer. Do something useful," I think she said, for a change. About 2 or 3 days later, we were discussing what was going on, and she said, why is it such a problem? And that idea stuck with me for a little while. I was fortunate that I was an engineer, and I was working in an engineering business, and we were able to think about the idea and had an incubation period. And now we're at the stage at which we are about to launch with a national retailer, hopefully in November. It has taken us 5 years. And IP has been at the core of our business progression. So obviously I'm going to start talking about IP now. Lone inventor, not a lot of money behind us. I didn't want to mortgage the house. So what do? I came to the British Library and started investigating about IP, the different types of IP. Because I realised early on that I needed money. This is a product. It's not like a web-based business which has sort of low barriers to entry. We were trying to develop a product, and products cost money to develop, to prototype, and to manufacture. So I decided that I need to raise money outside. I couldn't fund it myself. So you go down the route of a business plan, and you then want to get investors or other people to give you money to take your idea and make them money. And what have they got to hang it on? They've got absolutely nothing to hang on apart from your credibility yourself. They need some asset, and this is where the intellectual property comes in. So we worked very hard to try to develop a product that had IP, that had intellectual property, that we could embark on the patent process, and on embarking on the patent process, have the potential to have an asset. So the investors would then see this potential for an asset and think that that asset had value and then would give us money. So that was the way it sort of worked. So we had to have a patent to start our business. And I think quite a lot of product-based businesses founder on not having enough cash. And that's why it's quite essential to have some sort of intellectual property in which you can anchor the business on. So I didn't know very much about intellectual property when I first started. I came here, I went to probably one of the seminars that you probably run now, and started to try to understand the different types of intellectual property that can help you with your business. And then, really, as Denise said, you have to align the property based on your business. We were a product-based business, so we needed to have a patent. That's why I decided straight off we needed to have a patent. And then you decide what you're going to do with your business. What's your exit? Are you going to sell the business on? Are you going to try to grow the business onto something else, or do you want to license? And the property that you bring into the business depends on how you want to develop the business. We decided that licensing was not something we wanted to do. We wanted to get into the market space with our product. And so we sort of discussed with experts. I went to a very expensive, patent lawyer who took a lot of my money, but we developed an IP strategy. And that IP strategy was based around the property that you can have. As Denise said, it is property, it's an asset. So we applied for a patent, that's one thing. Through the patent process, a couple of tips really. When you start on the patent process, you're in a race, because you've got a year. So you put some money down, £3,000 for a patent, thank you very much. You then, a year later, have to do something to that patent. You have to move on. And the issue with the patent is you're divulging your information. you're divulging everything to everybody. It's protected for a while. If you do not then go forward and engage with that patent, take the next stage, everyone knows about you. Everyone knows everything about your idea. It's public domain. So once you start the patent process, you must understand that you need to continue with it. So when we embarked on our patent and put the patent in place, we're in a race to raise enough money to develop the product to get to the next stage, which is pay more money to the patent lawyers for the next stage of the patent, which is going to a European patent, and you take even more money. And then after that stage, you then have to, it's not just having the patent, you then have to protect it. What that means is, having the patent means that no one else can patent your product. It doesn't mean they can't copy it, it just means they can't patent it. You then have to protect it in each individual country, and that costs money per country. So very quickly you can have a patent, if you want to protect internationally, costing you, in the lifetime of it, £30,000, £40,000. And you've got to realise this. And so you're in this race to raise that sort of level of money to actually protect your patent and your idea. As Denise said, the payback at the end of it is, if you go through the process, is very large because you have a monopoly on that idea and no one else can exploit it apart from yourself. But you have to really understand what type of intellectual property you can move into. A slightly cheaper idea is to go for design rights. You can protect the look and feel, so we've done that as well. Our bottle's quite unique, it looks quite unique, so we had a patent on the underlying technology, and then we had a design right that protects the look of the bottle. So that's a slightly weaker type of protection, but again, it's slightly cheaper and it protects certain aspects of what you're doing. Where we are now is that, fortunately enough, our patent's been granted, so that's great. But as we enter the market space, we're now looking at, as Denise and Sebastian says, people copying what we're doing. So suddenly, once you're on this process, you start thinking, OK, now people are going to copy me. One patent is good, but it can be circumvented. People will spend some time. A big company like Tommy Tippy will take the time and effort, and within 6 months to a year, they will get around your patent. Or they will challenge your patent. Even having the patent granted doesn't mean you've got a licence to print money. They can take you to court and challenge your patent, and they can win. If the court decides that your patent is not strong enough, or that somebody else had an idea somewhere else that you didn't know of, that the patent search authorities didn't know of, and suddenly they bring that prior art to bear, your patent's actually worthless. So you have to understand that then you have to start thinking about how much money have I got to protect my patent. And that's what Mandy had to do. She had to mortgage her house to protect the patent from Tommy Tippy, and fortunately enough, she probably went to a very good patent lawyer, and they buttoned down the patent. So it is an arduous process, it's an expensive process, but if you're really serious about exploiting the idea, you do need to have intellectual property and assets in which you can found the bedrock of your business, and people will then give you money to exploit your business. I've basically raised about £500,000 at the moment over the last 2 to 3 years to take this product to market. So products take a lot of money to get to the market space. I think I've sort of finished on tips, really. There's a couple of tips that I've got. Really, although I've said lawyers are expensive, they're worth the money, to be honest. You can write your own patent, you can file your own patent, but to be honest, really, they're worth the money if they're good. Because our lawyer was good, and we've managed to find a clear blue space in the patent space in which we can really sit down. This is what we're about. Timing. There's this big, when do I patent? Do I patent now and get into the race? If I don't patent now, will someone else patent before me? That's up to you, really. But you have to understand, once you do start patenting, you're in a race to raise money to finance the patent costs that you're going to incur. The last 2 tips, really. Develop a strategy for your IP, not just patents. So you have to think about the whole gamut of trademarks, design rights, patents, and understand what you're trying to use them for. What's your business? How are you going to exit from your business? And what does that mean for your patent strategy? And finally, what we've found to be the most efficient way for a small startup to start patenting is to not necessarily patent everywhere. So we've patented in our major consumer markets. So we've patented in Europe, the States and Canada, basically. That's where we think our product's going to be sold. That's where our markets are. And by patenting there, if anybody copies it from, let's say, China, fine, they can sell it in China. If they try to sell it in the jurisdictions that you protected, then you can stop them. And for a small company, we found that to be our best strategy. Thank you very much.